We ready? Good morning. It's time to call to order the Charter Review Committee meeting for Wednesday, November the 8th, 2023. We're in the Public Works Building in Mexico Beach. Ms. Tammy, can you call roll, please?
Sure can. Okay. Ms. Ward,
Here.
Mr. Cox,
Here.
Mr. Elsey,
Here.
Ms. Jenkins. Here. Ms. Logan,
Here.
Mr. Elsey.
Well, I said here for Mr.
Oh, you did, I'm sorry.
Did you call my name twice?
I don't know, I probably did. Mr. Elsey?
Here.
Okay. Mr. Schmigelski is absent today.
All right. Good morning. First item on the agenda is old business. Does anyone have anything? Is it possible for us to, can we move this if we need to? If we need to come back to something in our discussion as we have in the past, if possible, if we need to? Is everybody okay with that?
I'm fine with it. I just was curious if we had discussed adding the city administrator's duties to the thing.
To the charter?
Yeah.
I did. Mhm.
Okay.
That's interesting you brought that up because I thought we had discussed that.
But
But
I
we hadn't
wasn't
discussed
sure.
any language.
Correct.
That's why I had these two
Okay,
sample
okay.
charters pulled out.
And then the only thing I'd say is, kind of running out of time, I just need to know what it is that you want me to do. And we need to make some decisions today. So I
thought we had made some, so we will discuss some things. First of all, I know that a couple of weeks ago, I was last minute not able to be here, and Tammy did send you guys on an email. I watched from home. So I thought it was a great meeting. I really appreciate the information that was there. So since we are on business, we can bring this up. Back on October the 12th, when I had the flow chart and had the agenda for the 5 topics, the 5 categories that we positioned, so to speak, and it was ruled out that we didn't want to dictate those positions. I got that, I understand that. However, part of what I wanted to do in that day, maybe I did not make myself clear, obviously I did not, was the language for those positions. I know we ruled out human resources, we don't have one now. Got that, gone. But mayor, city council, city clerk, because her job responsibility have changed since this original charter came out, and the city administrator, we need to work through their responsibilities in order to come up with the language. That's my thought process on it, and that's where I was trying to go on the 12th, and we did not. So I feel like we need to do that to help Clint, because he can do the referendum wording all day long. He can, the legal mumbo jumbo stuff, he's got it. But the language, I think, is our responsibility to some degree. Mark, do you agree or disagree as our guide here to that, or should the attorney be the one responsible for the language as well?
Well, the attorney's going to be limited by what the state law allows him to do in terms of the ballot question and the ballot summary.
Okay. But the
The
charter
actual
itself,
charter language that you all have been working on since August is what I thought we were attempting to get before the public tomorrow evening.
exactly. That's kind of where I was working at from the 12th. So, I'm concerned with what we're going to do tomorrow, but I think if y'all got the time, I've got the time, we can hash this out today. I don't think it's going to take a whole lot. We've got tons of charters to pull from that we've been provided with. And so we know what we don't want in there. So I feel like we really need to buckle down today and talk about this language for those 3 positions that we know: mayor, council, city administrator. Does anybody agree or disagree with that?
So I'm just being a stick in the mud again, that we had not talked about city administrator, we had talked about city manager, council, form of government. So just, I said that at the last time when we started talking about administrator, so bringing it back up again just for.
I do agree with the semantics are
Semantics,
important.
they are.
They are important,
They are
yes.
important.
And if we're going to present to the public a council manager form of government, we can discuss what the manager actually is you can change the verbiage to indicate it being a manager, not an administrator. Because functionally, the administrator, they both, Mr. Ryan, if I'm speaking out of turn, please correct me. They both work at the pleasure of the city council, correct?
Absolutely.
And under direction of the city council. So,
And here we go again, because I'm going to disagree completely with you. The manager's positions, in my experience, have far more power, even though they report to the council. They have far more power than the administrator, who brings everything to the council. And I do not want one person, which is your manager, to be responsible for some of the things that managers can do.
Well-
And the verbiage is extremely important here.
Lisa, and I hear you, but if this language,
And what language are you using?
Well,
Are you
I mean,
using
you can-
our description of a city administrator?
I'm just using the sample charters.
Well, you need to use our city administrator's duties, which we
Well, I
have.
think,
If we're gonna switch the form of government, then, just looking at Port St. Joe's, it's quite extensive. I mean, what you add to the city manager, it is a much more powerful position.
Yes.
And the duties are all,
They're spelled out.
they're spelled out, and it's quite involved. It's like a page and a half, 2 pages of what the city manager's duties are.
But we also have other charters, not just St. Joe's. And I
No,
know
I
St.
know, I
Joe's is the
just-
one you have most experience with, and I get that, Clint. But we have other city charters that we have that are not quite as extensive, and I don't think ours needs to be as extensive as St. Joe's. St. Joe's is a bigger city, they've got more people that live within it, and I think that we can be within our realm. I agree with what Lisa is saying also.
Why?
My concern,
Sorry.
no, my concern with the manager is, I agree with Lisa, in that a manager has too much, it feels as though they have too much power. I hate to use that word. I hate using that word. Control. I personally would like to see if this is doable. Mark, you would be the one to help with this. A city administrator in the charter and a finance director. Because then that gives your finance director, your treasurer, whatever, responsibilities over your financial part that reports to your council. And then you've got your administrator who handles your operations. So there is your CFO and your COO. That takes those responsibilities per se, I don't want to say away from the mayor, because that's, but it eliminates some of the challenges that I feel like we've been seeing and having. And some of the things I'm hearing from other people. So can that be done, Mark? As our guide here, can we propose, we add the city administrator and propose putting a finance person in, either whether we put it in or don't put it in the charter?
You certainly could make a recommendation
Okay.
that you include a comptroller, a treasurer, a finance director as a charter officer. But where do you stop there? Or do you keep going with other key officials in the community as being chartered? And then you have this bailiwick of all these different charter officers, and the manager goes, who do I work with and direct and so on and so forth? So you gotta be careful that you're not.
What would
adding-
your key officials, in my opinion, be? Mayor, council, clerk, finance director, city administrator. Those 5 are the only ones I feel like should be in our charter, period. My opinion, I don't know what anybody else thinks. So, Lee, don't be a stick in the mud, you're not. We have great conversations with this group, and I've enjoyed this so much because of that.
I just go back that we voted on, and it was, this group agreed that it would be a council manager form of government going forward, and I don't understand why at the last minute we're now.
Because
Because what?
I brought it up at the last meeting. I said, do we have to call it a council manager? And y'all said that is the correct legal term for it, but I kept saying that we need to
I
differentiate
hear
if it's
you.
going to be a manager or an administrator. So council manager is misleading. It should be a council administrator position.
I hear you. This group voted
We did.
for it to be council manager. This group voted for us, that would be the
We did.
recommendation.
We did.
Yes.
So is that the verbiage
But-
that you're wanting to see, is that it be managers, the wording? Are you okay though if we don't do all of it, if we don't?
We haven't even gotten to those job description of that is yet.
Okay.
And
So till we are there, so can we, for the sake of this conversation then, go with the manager word with the mind of, let's hash out the job and the language that we want in the charter for that position, to consider a director of finance as a possibility, giving again, separating this two in my thought process. You've got the two people, they're still gonna work together, your finance person and your city admin, they're still gonna work together making budgets, handling things, they have to. I mean, and I'm thinking back to when I worked in a hotel, even though I was over sales and revenue, I still had to work with my operations manager in order to make the hotel its money. So in this case, they're gonna have to work together to save our citizens and spend our money properly. So,
Well, obviously, a city administrator and a finance person have to work together. I mean, that just.
you would think so,
goes without
exactly.
saying. But remember, the city clerk, as written by the charter, the city clerk's job up until 2 years ago encompassed being the finance director, and it was put in there
Which we're
as
not
that
changing.
reason. So if we have split it off and it's going to remain that way, then I think anybody handling money needs to be in the charter as a charter position.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I really we need your guidance today,
The
Mark.
other thing to keep in mind is what has transpired recently here in the community. The community elected officials have chosen to outsource the financial component.
Right.
Are you going to now recommend they not do that and make this a mandatory charter position?
Well,
we're all sharing opinions.
Right.
My opinion is the council and this committee, we don't need to, quote, tie the hands of the council. I think we need to designate the director of finance position. If the city council wants to outsource that to a firm and they have a representative that comes to our meetings, and
Can that be done?
sure that
That's
can
what
be
we're
done.
getting ready to do.
Well, and let's be honest, this is not something new. Ms. McLeod worked as a contractor for the city for umpteen years, right?
Yeah.
So,
True.
I mean,
no,
it's,
a few years
well,
as a
more than
contractor.
two, a lot more than two.
She was the actual city clerk.
Okay, but she's had a history. So the point I'm making is, let's not get caught up in semantics. The council would still have the ability to do whatever they wanted to with that director of finance. I don't think this committee needs to be telling the council how. I think we need to recommend that position, but whether it's a contract position,
Or hired,
Or
that's the
hired.
council.
That's the council's
that's the
job.
council's job. Just like it's the 5 council members' job to supervise the manager administrative position. I don't think it has to be a 3-page description of what the manager or administrator can do. I think you can do it in 2 or 3 paragraphs.
We've seen it, it's done in other
Yeah.
cities, So are we back to the council using the word manager with proposing a finance director? Is that, and if that is the case, can somebody make a motion that that is what we're gonna work towards, and then having the language for mayor, council, and spelled out? Let me know. What do you think? Yes, sir.
I think. what
This
you
is
need-
John at First Street speaking.
Well, I didn't know we had to say it. I think we need to remember, we're putting this on a ballot for the citizens to make the final decision.
Yes.
And when the decision is made, then the council is supposed to follow that. So you're not hand-tying the council, in my opinion. It's the citizens saying, this is the way we want the city to run.
If the council decides to put it on the ballot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
But here again, the wording is important for the
Agreed.
citizens. Because if you change from, and this is just my opinion and some people I've talked with, if you change it from manager, which I agree with Lisa, gives too much power as a definition of manager, from administrator, are you going to have enough explanation for the the people to vote for it? That's the thing.
It's gonna be really hard.
It is going to be hard.
But
And there's
that's
going to have to
what
be a
workshop
lot of
is, is it
education.
not?
75 words to do it.
How much?
75 words in the summer.
So we have to keep that in mind that, and a lot of people don't pay attention, we know that, you can see, they haven't been here. They may watch online, I don't know.
They do.
So you gotta keep it, when you make these decisions, you gotta remember, it's gonna be the citizens, and you gotta make sure they are educated, that they know what you're saying, and what you're trying to do, and if they agree with what you're trying to do.
Which is what the workshop is for tomorrow, which is why we need to hammer out this language. So tomorrow we can explain with confidence as a group that this is the reason why we're proposing these changes and the language changes, and let them be there and give their input. Obviously, since they're, and I think having in the evening is going to be helpful. A lot of people work, and so.
I have another question, and Clint brought up a good point. He said, if the council approves it.
Right.
Now, will
We
they
got
be
lots of
able to
steps.
cherry pick? I think you have 3 items, 4 items. Will they be able to cherry pick, or is it you gotta put all these on the
They
ballot?
can
let the
cherry
citizens-
pick anything they want.
Okay.
They will actually, in my understanding, Clint, am I wrong? Once we present this to the council, if they go, we like 1 and 3, then we have to go back and we'll have to come back together and go through this. We love the language, we love everything about it, but we don't like, just an example, the 50+1. Well, you have to take that out, or, to go back, for it to move forward to referendum. Am I correct in thinking that way?
If they say take it, if they say that they don't pass that, then it doesn't go any further.
But we're not all the way back to square one. We can say to them, okay,
Well, I'd like to present this one, whatever ones we're doing in terms of the ballot referendum. This, and this. They can say, well, we want to do this one, we don't like this one, we like this one, we don't like this one.
but that's not the purpose, just the purpose of this committee. The purpose is also to reword the language and add the city administrator, manager position to the charter, which we've never done, and memorialize what has been happening in the city for so many years.
If that's what you want to do.
When we change the language on all of this, does that then become one of the ballot issues since we are changing the charter language?
Yeah, it will
So
have,
it will become number 5 or 6 or whatever it is.
I believe so. And
I'm
I
trying to
think
figure
we're
out how
not
to
giving
do
our
that.
citizens,
Like, if you change the council, you change the form of government, say the council and manager, then that sets off a string of things all throughout the charter that would need to be changed. Like, you need to put the manager's definitions and everything in there.
And then if we do that, then we've already got, what, 3 or is it 4?
I only have 3,
Okay.
and they kind of, one is, and 2 of them kind of, you don't necessarily need them, because if you change the form of government, you're gonna change the mayor description. But basically taking that sentence out, because
The
every
language-
other one I've seen is the language we have in the Mexico Beach Charter minus that one sentence.
in some degree, I'd like to see and hear what Stephen's thoughts are on what he's pulled. Does anybody else have any copies of any of the, that they've got with them? I think we need to start back and we decided, okay, first of all, does anybody want to have an official vote, put a motion to the floor of how we're going to go forward? And do it one more time. You're right, we have voted on that way and we're moving that way. Let's do it one more time because we are talking about adding the director of finance as a proposed position to the charter.
I think it's a recommendation.
Recommendation, you're correct, that is the better wording for it.
The only one we seem to have a consensus on at this particular moment was the 50+1.
Yeah, I think
That-
that was
I
pretty
mean, that's the only one that there's a
Total
consensus.
consensus, yes.
Yes.
I mean, anyone logically.
So that's
would-
one.
Imagine this, there are 6 of us that run for one of the groups for council. And the one that gets the most votes wins. And Quinn gets 28% of the vote, but she wins. I mean, I think that's a pretty much a cut and dry, that we're all,
On the same page.
we're all
Yeah.
And that was
Americans.
simple.
Nobody
That's a
has a
simple
problem
one
with
to
that.
do.
That would-
Everybody work totally
But
together.
Good, not trying.
I'm gonna take Mr. Elsie's point. If we want to take another vote on something we've already voted on, I think. it's
Question
a
2 that I
little
had was
bit
just
Okay,
Especially
taking that
this
one
week.
sentence.
Yeah.
I
Don't think we should go backwards,
okay.
I thought it was,
I also
but then if
disagree
we're
with
getting into
finance
changing the
director.
whole form of government,
like a
then
section in here.
you're gonna circle back around. These two things are,
I think, Madam Chairwoman, I think more important than us recommending a finance director, we need to clarify the clerk's duties, because that has, to Lisa's point, changed dramatically since the charter was written. Now, the clerk has no financial responsibility, so that needs to be taken out of the charter.
yeah. The one thing that I know, the only thing I know for sure that I'm supposed to do is this moment is write up a referendum regarding the 50+1. Everything else is still kind of in flux. I don't have direction as to what I'm supposed to
Okay,
do.
so we need to, go ahead.
I disagree with you, Clint. We had 3 or 4 things that it may not have been 100% consensus, but we voted on them to move forward with.
Okay, and they are,
Well, removing the sentence.
Remove them one sentence.
okay, but if you're going back to changing the form of government, okay, so removing the one sentence, that's easy, I like that. That's, I mean, that's the easiest thing that everybody can understand.
Yeah, we did come to consensus on removing that one sentence. However, I would like for us to go through the language and decide if we're gonna stick with just everything that's in there, or we're gonna look at another charter's mayor and decide if that's the language we'd rather go with, change it any other. And I know, Clint, you keep saying, don't make too many changes, people won't, it'll get over, whatever. I think our citizens are not given enough credit here of being smart enough to understand this. And that's what the workshops are for, is to give them the reasoning behind why we're making these changes. Our neighbors and we are smart people. We can handle more than 3 things.
What we need to do, you're getting ahead of yourself. We need to simply come up with the things that we want to put on here. That's the first draft. Don't try to do this all at one time in a final draft. We come up with all the things we want. It could be 10 different things we want to put on here. And then we work from that and we see if we're going to eliminate any or if we think it's too much. So just shoot for all of the things that you want to change and put it on here, and then let's eliminate.
Okay.
Well, won't some changes come up once you have the workshop, you get citizens input?
I would suspect.
Absolutely, I would agree with that.
But that, we'll get to, not to discount that, John. At some point during this whole conversation over the last few months, we had discussed that, and it probably wasn't a 5-person consensus, but that we would make our recommendations to the council, and if there was significant disagreement, either through the workshop or for other ways, that we would note that to that. It wouldn't necessarily be that we would change what our recommendation was at the time.
Right, but I mean, you're putting yourself under a time constraint here today.
And I don't understand why, but yes.
Because, like I just said, it might change, and more likely will change once you get the citizens' input. So I'm saying, kind of don't sweat it, just put what, like Lisa said, put what you want, and then get the input. And once you have the input, I hope this committee will take that information and then meld it and then put it for your recommendations, hoping that the recommendations are just not the opinions of the people that sit on this board. Unless no one shows up, because I will be out of town, so I won't be here. But hopefully, more citizens will show up. I appreciate you will show up today. So that's all I'm saying, from a citizen standpoint.
Well, then going with Lisa's, but I would like to see the language, not just one line, I would like to see it updated, and to be a little more succinct for the existing position and the city manager / administrator. We need to get some language.
Okay,
I don't think we just need to take one line out of a charter. How does anybody else feel about that?
so one of the ones
Which one
this
are you
one
looking at?
from Haverhill,
Yeah, that's the one I've really done a lot.
uh,
Yeah, right here.
and you could change it to the administrator language to manager pretty easily throughout here. The description of duties, I think is pretty direct. and
It's pretty succinct. This is a really good charter if you guys have not seen this one.
And the language for the clerk is
Pretty spot on. Does everybody have this? If not, I can get Tammy to make a copy for you.
but they're both,
I have it. I just
Okay.
I have a column page.
I have several. I just want an extra copy of
I
that.
like this one mainly because like for the clerk's position, it's a little more detailed than the other one I had. But it's still in plain language, it's not so,
Legalized that it
Right.
feels overwhelming, correct. I leaned heavily on Haverhill when I was looking at things as well, so.
but we could, like I said, changing the term, administrator to manager would be pretty easy. And the duties are laid out clearly right there. And if you want to add another sentence, the manager works at the sole direction of the city council.
I do believe that is missing out of there, I believe, isn't it? I don't know how, Lisa's got my copy, but.
Go ahead. No, you do it.
The last sentence of town administrator shall perform such other duties as specified in the charter or may be required by the council.
That pretty much covers
The
that.
last sentence.
It covers it, right?
At the sole discretion, I mean, do we want to, does it have to be that
Well, it says
legal
that-
like? I mean,
It's either, the way this is written, it's either, it's in the charter or the council tells them, directs them that that's the way they want to do it.
okay. So has everybody, did you read not just the administrator, but did you read all three? I personally like all three, the mayor, the administrator's manager, and the clerk were verbiage from Haverhill, personally.
I think
How do
we're
you
spot
feel,
on.
Quinn?
I need to see it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a copy
I'm sorry.
each. Thanks.
Let me see.
Can we get,
Yeah, can we?
can I make copies, Cindy? Please, thank you. Or show me how to run the printer, I'm not very good at that kind of stuff, to be honest with you. Last one I copied, I made it in paper jam, and I got in trouble, and that was 10 years ago.
There's a line in the mayor one here that says the mayor shall appoint committee and boards
Okay. No, we,
of the town. Isn't that
Council
something?
needs to appoint it,
I
right?
agree.
I don't like that.
Exactly.
well, and here, this is the reason why I want us to all have this and decide what, if anything, we want to use, change, whatever. The verbiage in this particular one is very good, in my opinion. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I think it's basically the same as the one that's in our charter, we minus that one sentence out of it.
Yes, ma'am, please. Thank you.
And Article 2 in our existing charter, if we just, back to the point, we've discussed about changing that, where it says the city shall be governed by, change it from mayor, council to council manager. And then, right under there, it says all powers of the city are vested in the city council. And then you go over a couple of pages to where we find the mayor's duties. simply removing that sentence. I really like what it says about our mayor, because then it's pretty simple. You know, the mayor is the chairman of the council, or chairperson of the council.
Runs the meeting, signs
Signs the
ordinances,
contracts.
signs contracts.
And is if there's a disaster and there's martial law, then the mayor is.
The governor goes to the mayor.
Right.
Yeah, and that's basically all it needs to say.
Yeah, I like the wording of ours,
Better.
except for that one sentence, which confuses everybody.
Yeah,
You know, political infighting is not, it's everywhere. So that's no matter what work the citizens do to approve or deny what we recommend as a committee,
You know,
or what the council approves to go to the referendum.
you know,
It's not gonna go away, but at least it will separate powers, so to speak.
Well, the sentence I like in the current city administrator job position is,
Wait a minute, we're jumping ahead.
We're
Hold that
still on
thought.
mayor.
Can we do mayor first and then go to the city administrator?
oh, I'm sorry, sure, sure.
Sorry.
Nope, no, you're right.
As soon as we get there, you'll be the first to speak, I promise.
It's okay.
Nope, you're good. So let's stick with mayor and finish our conversation. Eliminating in our current charter, the mayor shall be the chief elected administrative and fiscal officer. Or is there anything from the Haverhill that we want to, they're very clear, it's very clear. Is there anything in the Haverhill that anybody wants added or to read like?
Well, why does the mayor get to appoint committees and boards?
Nope.
No.
No.
Forget, that's their city,
Okay.
not ours. I'm not having that. That's a moot point for us.
Okay.
Is there anything outside of that, because we know we don't like that sentence in Haverhill, is there anything else in here that we would like to consider putting in ours current verbiage?
I think ours is clear enough.
and I think taking that
Okay.
sentence out,
All right,
in essence, changes the form of government
okay.
without going into that.
Okay. Cool.
Because that's the confusion.
I know we voted on this, I want to make sure, absolute clarity for the workshop tomorrow. We're removing the one sentence and we're leaving the verbiage as is in our current charter. We're not adding anything
For
else.
mayor,
For mayor, yeah.
For mayor at this time,
correct.
okay? All right,
Okay.
all clear, all good, right? Okay.
We could probably do that for the 50+1, right?
Okay. Now,
That's it. So we got those two.
Quinn, town administrator, town
You're talking about the
manager.
current job description.
So the current job description, so what you presented to us last meeting, it says, you know, we're changing the form of government. And you said that would trump all the other ordinances, right? So the job description that currently exists for the city administrator and whatever, ordinance 596, 644, whatever.
Yeah, it's in the ordinance. It's not in the charter.
But that dissolves, right? I mean, they would have to be rewritten by the city council. Or are we?
Ask that question one more time.
Okay, so you said shall Article 2, Section 2.01 of the Charter of Mexico Beach be amended to change the form of government from mayor council to weak mayor council, council manager, administrator. And then my question was, similar to what Jennifer's saying, this trumps all current ordinances. If we vote, if the citizens vote that we're gonna change this to
Any
council manager.
ordinances or resolutions or anything in conflict therewith would be out.
Okay, so
in my
then,
opinion.
is it the council's responsibility or this committee's responsibility to describe what that administrator's duties are? That's what my question is. Because it's not in the charter, but like, for example,
I mean, I don't
That's
listen.
where part of the quandary lies in that we're trying to add words and change our charter, as Quinn's saying.
I like the way it's described in our ordinances, and
I do too.
If I had a choice, if I was a citizen, I'd want to leave it the way it was, where you leave the council with discretion to change that in ways if they want
and you're
to.
not hamstringing it.
Okay,
Correct.
and this is an interesting point, I'm glad you brought that up. So the city administrator position was created in 2005.
No, it was created in 1982. It was called the town administrator, just like the town of Mexico Beach was the official name.
But it was created by ordinance, it's not in the charter.
Correct.
That's correct.
So-
Ordinance 122.
Could we simply recommend that the language from that job description be incorporated into the charter and quit?
And then it's simplified. I
Yeah.
think that's the easiest
I
way to do
think-
it too, Steve, I do.
From my perspective, I think what we want to do is not have a council come along and decide, we don't like Quinn, we're just going to do away with the city administrator position and we're going to do it ourselves.
Right.
No disrespect to any of our elected officials now or past or in the future, but I think having that in clear concrete in the charter now mandates that we have someone, an employee, that runs the day-to-day operations of the
Wow.
city. It makes everyone that works for the city's job more clear.
I will say this, if you don't put it in the charter, then any city commission, whether it be next year or 10 years from now,
Can change
can change it.
It needs to go in our charter.
just
in
by
my
a 3 to
opinion.
2 vote, and I don't think any of us
That's
want
true.
that.
Okay.
No.
All right, so we're getting some, so we
So
want it,
Do I have a motion to add then, I guess this is the way of putting it, add the city administrator, verbiage, however we want to put it, language to our
You have a
current
copy
city
of that?
charter?
Of which one?
Of our city administrator.
Instead of it being as an ordinance, ordinances and resolutions as it now stands. I guess that's what I need to put to the floor, is asking for that. Is that correct?
Say that again, because
Do I need to have a motion put to the floor for us to add the language for city administrator to our current charter instead of it being as ordinances and resolutions as it now stands?
I thought we just said that we wanted what was in the ordinances, and you're saying the exact opposite.
No,
I thought we were putting it in the charter. Are we not putting the city?
take the language from the existing ordinance that
Ordinances.
created that position into the charter.
So I need to have a motion to add the city administrator manager position to the existing charter, not be as it is.
As standalone.
As stated in ordinances such and
Oh,
such and
thank
such
you,
and
thank
such.
thank you for those, yes.
That's
As-
how it needs, because that's what we're saying. We want it as it's listed in the ordinances.
Thank you for clarifying that, yes. So,
So go ahead and make that motion.
make the motion, Lisa,
so
because I
which-
can't make the
which-
motion.
and clarify, because I think there's been more than one ordinance.
Yes,
Which-
I've
which-
got them right here.
And which one you
Which
want
is
me
the
to take the
one
language?
that's the most recent.
Okay.
The one that we want is 486, which was written in 2005, but it starts out an ordinance reaffirming the original intent as required by Florida state statute. It gives a statute and providing for the consolidation of ordinances 122, which actually started the town administrator's position, 138 and 416, which provides for the appointment of a city administrator, establishing minimum qualifications, compensation, powers, and duties, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict, and providing for an effective date. This is the one that we want, because it says reaffirming the original intent. You can't reaffirm anything unless the intent was already there, which was written as the town administrator. So that's the ordinance.
Did they have, has there been other ones
Yes.
after that?
So
That's,
I have ordinance 644, but I understand what you're saying about the reaffirming, Lisa,
There's 596,
right?
and then there's 563.
See,
that's,
this is ridiculous. I mean,
Well,
It gets
these-
very
these
convoluted, I
ordinances
agree.
After that were for pay grades and stuff like that. The thing that, the basic one that established everything was 486.
Okay. I'm sorry if I'm beating a dead horse here or asking the question over and over again. It's only because I'm trying to get complete clarification. Clint,
yes, ma'am.
if we present language, and Mark also backed me up on, correct me if I'm wrong. If we present the language for a city administrator, taking the ordinances and putting it together, it will supersede everything else, correct?
If it goes in the charter,
It will supersede
and it's
everything.
voted on by the citizens and it goes in the charter, then anything that conflicts with that is out.
Okay, so the town administrator verbiage in Haverhill actually incorporates almost every one of our ordinances that we have over the year, when I've gone back and read those. So basically, we would be taking all those ordinances that are out there and doing exactly what Quinn is recommending, using all of the current ordinances and moving them into the charter. It's just more succinct the way they've written it at Haverhill. That's the way I'm seeing it. Now, if I'm incorrect in that, let me know. It's a lot to take in.
So, the hiccup that I have, in one sentence, I do like in our current city administrator job. It says, no elected official shall instruct or direct any city employee in the performance of their daily job tasks, but shall work through the city administrator.
I agree with
I
that.
agree.
I think that's a very important sentence.
Can we not add that sentence then into what the town administrator for Haverhill? Because their verbiage incorporates all of our ordinances, and then we can add that, and that gives us everything that we're wanting to accomplish.
I have to digest it. I can't be put on the spot right now.
I
To make a vote on that because I feel like we're going backwards now.
I don't feel like we're going backwards at all. This is what I had wanted to discuss on the
Then the
12th.
town administrator thing, it says, town administrator shall attend all meetings of the town council, sign all licenses issued by the town, execute all contracts.
So you're
You're starting to contradict whatever.
Yeah,
Our
because
mayor
Our
says-
mayor is the one that signs the contracts, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it also says, you know, the city administrator, or current says the city administrator is the chief administrative officer of the city. And then, you know, I'm just devil's advocate. Somebody's going to fuss about that and say chief administrative officer, and then we're going to have to justify it. So
Yeah, that's-
we're opening
Well-
ourselves for a lot of debate.
I can see where you're coming from, Gwen, and you are correct in that it is.
Hey, I think people can argue all they want to, but to expect the 5 people that sit at this table and are our government to not relinquish the operational control to someone who's here every day, to me, it's insane. You know, if you're one of the 5 and you're so power hungry that for whatever they make, 900 or 1,500 or whatever it is a month, that you want to have your fingers in everything that's going on in the city, you got other issues. You know, I think that's why I'm so back to what we originally started this conversation on. That's why there has to be someone in charge day to day that reports to these 5 every 2 weeks or more frequently if needed. But it's not rocket science.
Well,
That's kind of how it's set up now.
it's supposed to be, and what you read about no interference by individual council members has been an issue. I've watched it for many, many years. It goes on every single day, and it shouldn't happen. It's yet again a matter of enforcement. They don't enforce each other. They allow it, the councils have allowed it to happen. And until the council has the backbone to say, stop it to each other, it's going to continue. So that sentence is very important. It needs to stay in whatever we do. But again,
What sentence and where is that located? I'm just for my own notes, Quinn, without me looking it up. Do you mind
well,
telling me?
It's paragraph 4 on ordinance 644.
644, okay, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you. So can we ask at the beginning what he wanted as or marching order, so to speak? So we need him to revise the language of the city manager, administrator to incorporate the ordinances and resolutions that we currently have, specifically making sure we keep that in there. Is that where we're at? So that language needs to be. Yes, no, am I off track here, Lee? Help me out.
I'm not,
So like under Article 2, you're asking for us to put a job description. Like you've got mayor, mayor pro tem, and you want,
Not me, we.
yes, ma'am.
We would like to add the city administrators to our charter. So that we don't have ordinances and resolutions that leave it hanging out there to be changed at will. We want it to be resolved in the charter.
We're asking voters to not only change the form of government, but then we can justify it and say it's going to be outlined as the
Correct,
job description in section 2.
correct. Or is that, are we stating that correct, Mark?
It sounds like you're trying to memorialize the current job description of the city administrator into the charter. Is that what you're attempting to do?
Yes, exactly. So are you good with that, Clint?
I think so.
As a direction, as one of the directives?
Yeah, it's just how, the thing I'm gonna have a hard time with is probably the 75-word summary, how I
We'll
get
get
it
there.
across, but I
You'll
can
get
work on that. I just, if I know what I'm supposed to do, I can work on it and get it there.
I got it.
I do believe in, you can tweak it, and, you know.
I-
All right, so as far as the city administrator goes, we're basically gonna add a section, 2 point, whatever it is, city administrator, job, and it's basically a job description. And what I'm doing is I'm incorporating the ordinances that we already have, and they are the original 486, as Lisa has brought up. 644 is the one that contains the sentence that everybody's most concerned about, which is
Paragraph
that
4,
the city council members can't go
paragraph
over the head.
that
Paragraph
section.
4.
And then I don't know,
596 and 563.
Tammy, you were around for this one, September 2022, ordinance 798. I think y'all just rewrote the personnel policies. Yes. So it's a minor thing, it's not necessarily, the city hereby amends ordinance 644 as it relates to the personnel policies for the employees of the city of Mexico Beach. But I don't, I don't think that has anything to do with job description. I think that had to do with benefits, et cetera, last fall. Does that sound right, Lisa?
Yeah, that's what several of the other ordinances have to do with, those kinds of things. They don't have to do with the job description.
Without going back and looking at the thing, Clint, would you please, since you do have Haver Hills,
Yeah, get it right.
yes, I personally really like the first paragraph in this one that says the town administrators shall be selected by the town council on the basis of experience, expertise, and management ability as it pertains to municipal government. I really like that sentence. I
The first
personally would
sentence.
love to see that in there, but that's totally, I do like that sentence.
Again,
Because
we
I
have to
feel-
be vague and specific at the same time.
And I think that is just that.
And I think going back to what you said, our public servants are intelligent people, and they should probably assume that they're going to choose the person who's qualified. One would hope.
One would hope, without rehashing anything locally,
Right.
recently. So I like that sentence and I like the way that is stated. And we have all shared our thoughts. That's what we're here for.
Just, and I'm flipping through our charter. There's nothing in here that I see about the clerk.
There's not.
You know, and what got me thinking, Lisa, was your point about there was a time when the clerk was responsible for the finances. But I've been to and fro in here.
It's
Officers and-
somewhere in there.
I mean, there's references to the clerk. Office
Yeah.
of the city clerk as provided herein.
But no
So-
language for it?
So you're saying that, are you saying that there is no job description for the city clerk? Is that what you're saying?
Well, under, mayor, council, but there's nothing in here that says, I'm glad I'm capable of missing stuff.
So me too, but no, I know it's not.
Okay.
And.
Wow, but good catch, Steve.
Mr. Ryan, is that not an important thing to have in your charter?
You have typically charter officers as the manager and the clerk. Sometimes you could have others.
But those would be kind of the two, right?
Typically, yes.
Because then the clerk answers to the city council like the administrator.
That would be my understanding.
Yes, she is, yes.
I mean, the clerk, and this is not, but probably, if I were on Jeopardy, I'd probably get kicked off for not phrasing it in the form of a proper question, but
I got that
in
down. Don't worry, Steve.
in practicality, and I'll use my hands to reference a lot, but the city administrator manager and the clerk obviously have a line of a working relationship, but the clerk actually should report to the council.
In many cases, that is what happens. I had a city where the clerk reported to the manager. So, but it goes both ways.
So in your experience then, obviously a manager, if you have a bad working relationship with the clerk and you don't have managerial authority over that position, it can be a difficult situation.
Yes, I think I've shared a story with you about that.
But it can also be a difficult situation if you depending on who you are, if you have managerial authority and he said, she said breaks out, it can compromise most positions, right?
If the clerk reports directly to the manager, there are rules and laws that the manager would have to adhere to in any disciplinary action, including termination. A government job is a right that cannot be taken away without due process. That's the law.
Unlike in the private sector, they call it at will.
That's interesting because all these years, the councils have referred to the city clerk as one of the two charter positions.
And it's not there.
And it's not here. So that definitely needs to be added as well then. So there's another marching order, Clint.
Okay,
But that can be a simple question. I mean, it wouldn't have to be an elaborate ballot explanation. I mean, just the office of clerk should be incorporated into the charter.
Okay, with that being said, let's refer back to Haverhills and look at how it's written to see if we want to use, since there's nothing in here, this is gonna just help Clint.
so we're gonna create a charter section. We're gonna put these two charter sections that describe the job description of the city administrator and then the job description of the city clerk in section 2.
Yeah, and can we say responsibilities versus job description? I know that
Okay,
sounds crazy
we're
because
doing-
the job
Duties.
duties, responsibilities, because job description is more on the city council side of things when they're going to hire a person for the position, in my opinion, so.
Okay, that's why duties.
Thank you.
Of the,
I think Haverhills is way too detailed
For which one?
for the town clerk. Because I think that's, depending on who your elected officials are and what's going on,
But is that not what Tammy's already doing? And pretty much all this anyway? Do we just need to take out what she's not doing?
well, if you look at whatever this one is, Colony, Key Colony, it just says city clerk. There shall be a city clerk who shall be appointed by the city commission. The city clerk shall perform such duties as are assigned by the city commission. Is that too generic for you, Tammy? You're ever
Which,
changing.
you were doing Key Colony? I have that one.
They keep
Job
having hats for you to wear.
Can you read that one again? For this one, just says there shall be a city clerk who shall be appointed by the city commission. The city clerk shall perform such duties as assigned by the city commission. It's pretty basic, but it doesn't pigeonhole you
You know,
where anybody's gonna, because this seems, you're gonna record and post and, because
Which
you,
that is in the City of Mexico Beach job description as far as city clerk.
Okay.
So for points of the
These
charter,
things
this
are-
should be the simple, keep it simple rule. right?
this, don't use 10 words when 5 will do.
And when the
I
job
got
was
it.
split, Mario Giesbert, who was the city administrator at the time, basically said, we're going to give the city clerk all the administrative duties and the staff accountant all of the financial duties, and they just split it that way. So her job description covers all of the administrative things, but I agree with you. Simple, easy to understand. That's all it needs to be said.
Way under the 75 words.
Yeah, that's all it needs to be said about it. It's the administrative side.
Since we have our clerk here, may I ask a question? Tammy, is it going to be, I don't want to say better, but would it be worth the while to have certain things spelled out, or would it be better to have it more vague so that they can shift as needed?
I
In-
think it being vague and would be the best, in my opinion.
Cool.
Instead of it being so specific, because the job description is,
Can always
yes,
change.
so, and it is specific, the job description is, but this is, I think, it being vague like that and just to the point is, in my opinion.
Okay,
Yeah.
then that's what, okay, keep it. So we're gonna go with this simple wording that is in key colonies. We like the way
Key
that works. Do you have that?
It's
Not on-
page 5,
Yeah, it's 5.3. Your city
section
clerk.
5.
something like
Here,
that.
that's key colony.
I had it in here somewhere.
I think this is the one you have.
This is the one I had. Okay. Where?
5.3.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. All right. Mayor, administrator, clerk has been done. Do we want to look at council members? Anything in that one? Do we want, since we're looking at language, which is the purpose of what we're doing?
Actually, I think it was pretty good.
I think it was pretty good too, but just throw it out there. We're here.
Can we put in a minimum intelligence test?
Oh, Lisa, I could go so many directions with that right now. Let's not.
And you, just for clarification, I'll say, a referendum creating section 2 point whatever, if we try and slide it in, kind of where it should go, like in here,
Right under.
then you gotta, then you're changing all the numbers all the way down the line,
Again, I think that's something.
or we just add it in at the end, you know.
Add it at the end and it doesn't change anything.
You
It
know,
just
so
adds.
we're create section 2.17, city administrator duties, section 2.17, city clerk duties.
Let's just do that, it'd be so much simpler.
I think that's fine too, because didn't we, I think back in August, some of it was repetitive anyway, so.
Right.
There was a little bit. Mark, we can do that, just add to the end, or do we need to keep it in order like that would be a legal thing? Okay. Defer to our attorney.
the city attorney.
Okay, so would you mind then just checking to make sure we can do it that way? Otherwise, we need to put it in and change the numbers, whatever is most.
I think you can do it either way, it just makes it a lot more confusing if you change
Correct
the
me if
number.
I'm wrong, did we vote to eliminate section 2.16?
Of our current charter, Quinn, is that the one you're
Yes, because I
talking
thought we all
about?
said it was repetitive.
I got it crossed out on mine, so maybe you did.
Okay, I believe that was an edit.
Yes, I got removed, written beside it.
right there.
Yes, I do too, I have it
And the
Xed out.
reason we said that was because there was, I think there was some language earlier that said,
It's the same as section 2.13 basically. I mean, it's
Right.
almost word for word.
I don't know, it's just, that, when it says, all ordinances and resolutions and technical regulations shall be reviewed on the 5th anniversary of their effective date, that means we'll be reviewing ordinances
behind.
every day, because, you know,
Yeah.
we'll always be reviewing ordinances. That's all the council would do, would be reviewing their old ordinances.
And that's why we took out 216, because it is kind of repetitive from the 213. And I do have that noted here too. And that should have been in the notes that.
Yeah, I got it crossed off here,
Yeah.
I'm assuming that was why.
And it was crossed off in the word.
All right, so that's gonna have to be a referendum thing, remove 216,
Okay.
for section 2.16.
Okay. All right. So, mayor, nothing but the council, removing that. We've got the language for these two to be added. Tons of progress. Anything else that we need to hash through, add, talk about, discuss? Anything public? Judy? Judy? Mark?
The only comment, I don't want to throw water on something here, but I think you got to deal with the first sentence in section 2.01.
The city shall be governed by a mayor, council, form of government as it's stated.
And we did address that.
we did, we voted on that.
Yes. So we do, it does need to be mayor,
Council manager.
council manager.
Yeah, I think that was on,
That's all.
that was on my thing.
It is.
Yeah.
That was last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think just making it crystal clear that when you run for a seat at the table, as we'll call it, that there are duties and responsibilities associated with that. They all take an oath, but I've heard it from more than one person over the last few years that, well, you know, I don't want responsibility for that. Well, you got elected to an office, right?
There are expectations that
And,
come along with
you
it.
know, I heard a council member say, well, you know, that's Doug. If something goes wrong, it's on Doug.
Are we-
It's not, you
I'm
know,
sorry. Are we gonna say council manager
or
or
council.
council administrator?
I think that's semantics, right, Mr. Ryan?
I think I've said it before, you can call him manager, you call him administrator.
Well, we're calling it
Administrator.
administrator everywhere else.
Everything else says
Let's
administrator.
all
Let's keep
council,
it at administrator. So, but
because
can
it's
it,
still a council manager form of government, council administrator, manager, whatever you want to call it.
Especially if we're gonna incorporate what our current job description is, it's under administrator.
Then we gotta change the language for all that.
yeah.
Okay. Change it from mayor council to council administrator.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that certainly will make Lisa feel better.
All right,
But
so-
it doesn't help. Lee doesn't like it.
It's just a procedural thing, that we as a group, we sat here, we had a lengthy discussion, we asked Mel's input, we asked his input, we all said, oh, that sounds good, let's move forward with that. And now we come back to that small, and the people who voted for it, or the person who made the motion for it, technically if we go through generally accepted rules of meeting, those are the people that can say, bring it back up to the table and change it. So it's just a procedural thing, but
So procedurally, do we need to bring it back up? Is that what you're asking?
I'm not asking, I'm saying that the only way that it,
I think what he's saying is we need to make another motion to change that verbiage.
Okay.
Since we voted on it in the past.
Do I have someone to make the motion then?
All right, I'll make the motion that we change the proposed council manager position to council administrator position.
Or a form of government.
As our form of,
As
as
our-
our form of.
As our form of government.
Motion on the table. Do I have a second?
Oh, come on, y'all.
Second. I'll second it.
Tammy, can you do a roll call on that, please, ma'am?
Okay, Ms. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Elzey,
No.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Jenkins,
You're making me flip what I originally voted against. Yes.
Ms. Logan.
Yes.
Did I get it right?
Or one.
Yes.
Do I get 2 votes this time?
Mr. Elzey?
All right, can I recap everything, just so I know where we're going so
Abs-
far?
Absolutely, I think that would be more than appropriate since you've got a lot to get done
All right.
tomorrow.
Number one, and there's no particular order, but
Okay.
number one, create charter section for city administrator, incorporating the ordinances that are currently in existence for the job, or the duties, not job description, the duties. And our chairperson wanted to incorporate the first sentence of Haverhill, section 3.02, town administrator. Number two, create a charter section that deals with the city clerk and gives her duties, and that's, we're gonna just take strictly from the Key Colony, section 5.3. Number three, remove section 2.16, review every 5 years out of our charter. Number four, section 2.01, it's currently mayor council, we're going to change that to council administrator. Number five, section 2.07, the mayor, remove the one sentence. And number six, article 5, section 5.05B, we're going to change to a 50% plus one vote, or we have a runoff election.
State that from the beginning, which one is that again, just for my notes, I didn't get it down as fast as you said it.
Number 6 is changing Article 5, Section 5.05B, elections, from the way that it is now, just the most votes, to 50% plus one vote, or you have a runoff election.
The only addition, make sure in the city administrator position, you also incorporate that paragraph 4 of 644 ordinance into that language, please.
Yeah, let's see, I got.
That was the only thing I did not hear. You may have it in
You're
there.
right, I got it right here.
Okay.
Ordinance 644, sentence about, and then I stopped writing because it's just paragraph 4.
Okay.
And that's basically council
Elected
members
officials
can't
shall-
go
Yes.
above the head of the administrator to employees. Isn't that basically what
Correct.
that is?
Yes,
Okay.
that was the only thing I did not hear you say, so just.
I didn't say it, I'm sorry.
No, no,
But
no,
I
it's
did it
okay.
on this page, but I didn't put it in there.
All good.
Paragraph 4,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items. 6 items, Clint, correct?
that's what I have.
That's what I
1, 2,
have.
3, 4, 5, 6. Paragraph 4,
Okay.
ordinance 644.
Do we have any public comments that need to be added, suggested, anything you may would like to add, Mark?
Are you going to outline your process for tomorrow night? Who's going to do what?
Okay.
And how am I writing this up for tomorrow? Is just simply how we want the referendum to be?
I don't think we're there yet, in my opinion. I think we need the language to present to everybody tomorrow for them to read.
The language of how it's going to be in the charter, not necessarily the referendum.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I think
That-
that's the right way to do it.
That's what I'm thinking anyway. Lisa, what thoughts?
Yeah, as it's going to be in the charter, we're going to have to do a lot of explaining and
That's
a
what
lot
tomorrow's
of
for.
education as to the what the differences are, and then we're gonna have to justify them.
Okay. So, for the workshop, I'm sorry, hold on, Clint, would it be best then to start out tomorrow, if we're gonna do this tomorrow, which I think we can, we'll pull it off, with explaining the difference between where we currently are, why mayor council, to the differences between mayor council and council administrator, what the differences are in the government to everybody, so they understand that all we're basically doing is memorializing what we're already doing in words. It's,
Well, we'll,
excuse me for not having a lot.
actually, what we can do, wouldn't it be simpler? We've got the list of 6 things that we're proposing to change. And we'll just say, these are the changes that we are proposing, and start with them and just go down each one and take the first one and say, here's what it says currently in the charter, keep calling it the council. Here's what we're proposing to change and why. Number 2, here's what it says currently, here's what we're proposing. So just make it
In
simple.
the same flow of the charter, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So we're gonna start basically with that. This is what it states, we're
Well, like, for
proposing this.
instance-
Got it, okay.
For instance, where we're changing the form of government, I think that's really simple. It's basically the language that we have here, the city shall be governed by and we change it from mayor council to council administrator. Then it goes on to say, all powers of the city shall be vested in the city council, hereinafter referred to the council, except as otherwise provided by this charter, and the council shall provide the exercise thereof. I think it's just, that language is that language. I don't think we really need to change much, other than the form of government right there.
No, and we don't, but we can explain it to the public as saying, this is how we're looking at it.
Yeah, I
This is
agree.
what we're proposing,
I
and
agree
this is
with
the
that.
reason why we're making this proposed change.
Yeah.
Because we're already basically operating as this form of government,
Yes.
and now we're putting it down in writing.
Yes.
Did I sum that up properly?
Yes.
Okay,
I just
thank
want to
you.
say, some of these
Words in my
things, some
mouth.
of these things will be really simple to put in the charter, and some will be a little bit more involved. That's
Yeah,
all I'm
okay.
saying.
But-
That's a simple one.
But for tomorrow night, to explain what we've done, just take that list of 6,
Okay.
or how many, 6?
6.
Take that list of 6 and say, this is what we've come up with. This is what we are proposing, these 6 changes. This is what it says currently. This is what we're proposing. And
I think
always
that's
use
a great
the
idea.
propose, not we want to.
No, propose.
It's always what we're proposing.
All right, so what I need to write up for tomorrow night is, this is what section 2.01 says now, this is what we are saying we're gonna change it to.
Yes.
Then you guys, or me, or whoever
Yeah.
else can explain what that change encompasses. And we just go right to the next one.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, when we're adding these sections, we're gonna say, the charter doesn't say anything about this right now, but we are proposing to add a new section that gives the duties, the job duties of the administrator, job duties of the clerk. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna put together tonight, hopefully be able to get to you guys tomorrow morning, so you can look at it, and then we'll hand it out at the thing.
Yeah,
Tomorrow
we
night.
need to be able to hand it out to
Yes.
the public and then expect a whole lot of questions, you know?
Yes.
That was a nice summary from Clint, but
Yes.
I want to know in what detail will you be saying, this is what it with the new part? I mean, are you going to detail all of the duties for the administrator?
I'm gonna
all
try
of the
and
duties for
put
the
in, this is what the charter says now, and this is what we're proposing the charter says. So I'm gonna try and write
In
up what the
detail.
So
actual,
it's all of those other ordinances.
All combined into a paragraph versus the
Well,
two pieces.
yeah.
She's asking about, because
I want to know how much detail the public.
the city,
can get.
Well,
the
Not a
city
summary.
administrator position, they're not gonna have access to that.
Well,
We-
then,
We just need a
let's
copy of.
give them the copies of the ordinances
Be
if
nice
they
if
want to
you
go
posted
through that.
before the meeting, so people can read it.
that's if I can get it done.
No?
I don't know if we're gonna have time to do that.
But we could actually just, honestly, the duties from 644 would be the most important.
I'll just take it and write it down. I mean, I'll just take it right out of that and say, this is what we're proposing. I'm gonna try and write today, the rest of today and tomorrow before this thing, what the actual language is gonna be. And I'll try and get it to you guys as quickly as I can, and you can make some critiques or whatever. It's just we're running out of time.
I'll give you a pound of coffee to take if you'd like.
Well, the more information that we can give the citizens, the better off we're gonna be. So if we need to have handouts, which we certainly will, then we need to have those available. And I suspect what we're going to have are certainly a number of questions tomorrow night, but I think we're gonna have even more questions when people go home and look at the material that we've handed them, and then they think about it. We're gonna have more questions, and they're gonna be calling us and asking. So, you know, we're going to have to expect more interaction with the citizens than just tomorrow night. And we're gonna have to incorporate all of that.
Let's hope, I hope there's gonna be more interaction tomorrow night. I mean,
Well,
that's
I
what we
hope-
needed.
I hope so too.
Yes,
I'll never
yes,
make
John.
Does anyone know
No, it's on.
how
the
long
agenda.
does it take
Okay.
before the city council has to make a decision for it to make the April election?
Yeah. It has to go on the ballot February the 1st.
We gotta get it to the supervisor election, I think, by the 1st of February.
February
Yes,
1st.
so we have, as long as we can get it to them, right by now, in 1st of December?
The
So they
28th
can bounce
is when
it.
our next meeting is, after the 14th, which I'll never make it on the 14th, to be honest, because we're not gonna have this other thing till tomorrow night. We're gonna have to incorporate the changes that the citizens may or may
But
not.
still, we present it, but they have to do it, like, 2 readings of it, or?
Correct, but I'd like to have it totally, in ordinance form, which will have the summary, the actual ballot referendum language. And I
That might
think,
be-
I think I could do that by the 28th. Is this never gonna,
December 28th?
no, we're never
November
gonna,
28th,
November
November
28th.
November 20th, okay.
instead of the 14th.
Because our meeting's on the 14th,
And
and
we got the
then
holiday and then I moved it.
Then the 28th, and then there's only one December meeting.
it's gonna be one December meeting, so we're gonna need to get the first reading there, the second reading and adoption, and the first meeting in January, and we're gonna barely make it.
Okay, well.
But I mean, that's, I don't know.
Hey, if we skate in, we skate in, slide into home base, and we slide into home base. So, I'm not as agile as I used to be, but I'll try. Okay. The only thing that I did notice that I skipped earlier, and I apologize for that, is the minutes from the last meeting. Did we have minutes?
No,
Okay, no minutes, okay.
not from the last
All
one.
right. Is there anything else that needs to be brought up in committee or from the public that's here today? Can I have a motion to adjourn our meeting then?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Done.